Hey guys, it's Billy and Bonsai, and today's video is about this.
Have you ever had someone take your brain and play? Pull you out. Stuff something else in. You know what it's like to be unmade.
You know that I do.
So today's video is about this altered ego, which I like describing as a part of us that we cannot see, but is the only enemy that exists. And the perfect movie and character is Black Widow, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Because if you can see it with the eyes of symbolism, which is the universal knowledge of the unseen, it can illuminate you to the unseen aspects of our mind and how we inherit this altered ego that is trained and implanted or programmed into us. And the spiritual journey that's represented in Black Widow is the realization of this control and this limited mind that captures and controls and manipulates our energy, which is represented with the character Black Widow. If you haven't seen the film, that's fine, because I think the symbolism you will understand, but if you see the visuals with what I'm describing, I think you'll still be able to watch it with new eyes and appreciate it for the symbolism rather than the literal explanation and storytelling. The whole film is about Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff's consciousness, or her mind, and all the characters are symbolic of unseen forces that we have to awaken to and become illuminated from within to conquer this altered version of ourselves that we cannot see. And in this movie, her mother and father represent her mind and her heart. And that's the symbolism in movies, where the parents represent aspects of your heart and mind. And for women, the mother represents her mind and the father represents her heart. And for men, it's the opposite. While the father represents the mind and the mother represents his heart. And so in this movie, in the beginning, they're taken from their parents and sold into human trafficking, which everyone can relate to as something awakening inside of us, which is appearing outside of us. And this human trafficking symbolizes the way that the altered ego controls our mother and father, our heart and mind, when we aren't aware of it. Because it separates us. It separates the heart and mind from working together. And it's like the heart, or her heart, is sent to prison, and her mind is sent to become more manipulated so she can control others, and especially animals, which is a lower state of consciousness. And Natasha's story in this film is the symbolism of ascending your consciousness from this abandonment, limitation, and control of this altered ego. And this red room, where all these women, which represents energy, is taken to be limited and mind controlled, is the first chakra, is representative of the first chakra, which can also be represented in terms of energy as the bottom lower three chakras of energy in the chakra system. And so when she's in this red room, she's taken all her sexuality and turned into a weapon, which the mind, when you are unaware of your altered ego, is a weapon or is a soldier. You take orders from this voice in your head rather than being aware that there is a voice commanding you and controlling you.
What did I do? Free the others.
And so her journey and realization of this mind control, of this programming or mind conditioning that this film talks about, is due to allowing these altered voices and these limitations in your mind.
That gas, the counteragent, it was synthesized in secret by an older widow from Melina's generation. I was on a mission to retrieve it, and she exposed me, and I killed the widow that freed me.
Did you have a choice?
What you experienced was psychological conditioning. I'm talking about chemically altering brain functions. They're two completely different things. You're fully conscious, but you don't know which part is you. I'm still not sure.
And if you allow them, they continue to grow and grow and grow. And you can't really see them because you're the one who also has created it. So this journey for Natasha is to find her sister, which is the key in bringing together her mother and father, because it is an aspect of her own self that pushes her to become more more of a sister and more of a brotherhood of like humanity. So it pushes her to open up her heart and become more and develop a character that actually cares for people around herself. And so it first starts off as a battle because it's a reflection of her state of consciousness. And then when she realizes that she has to settle a truth in order for anything to progress, they stop fighting and actually start talking, which develops a flowering and unfolding that you witness in Natasha as she is now on her own and kind of like a fugitive. And I love when Natasha is finally alone to herself, she experiences this character Taskmaster, which is like a mimic and has been trained to be able to copy anyone else's moves and techniques. And the thing that's so fabulous about this character is that your subconscious is that way. And when she faces her unconscious subconscious, which is Taskmaster, she's basically fighting her demons in herself. And everything that she encounters with this Taskmaster is her past. This idea of Taskmaster always following her and trying to destroy her is this idea of a past secret or something that you need to face within yourself. Because that's the thing I really love about Black Widow, is that she's a character that knows that there's responsibilities that she has to face.
You're a spy, not a soldier. Now you want to wade into a war. Why?
I've been compromised. I got rid of my ledger. I'd like to wipe it out.
And her whole building of her character is showing how she attempts to try to do that and do more good. But that is just also showing that the lack that already exists within her. And her character arc is so interesting because it is an archetype that when you become unconscious, this whole time that you're living, you can become an archetype like Black Widow that is controlled and manipulated by this altered ego.
I don't want to do this. What are you doing? He's making...
Which is the reason there is patriarchy in this world, because this altered ego is a manifestation of our feminine energy that is controlled, which becomes a very dominant and manipulative form of masculine energy. And when Natasha frees her father and finally finds her mother with her sister, they're finally able to reconcile, and finally she's able to face herself and speak her truth to her mother and her father, her heart and her mind.
Don't lie to them.
I'm not lying.
You're Dreykov's architect, huh?
What were you? If I was his architect, you were his partner. You were his business
I was
partner.
Betsy.
Don't give me.
Please sell me ideology.
Oh, stop with the
All the
bullshit.
while, bigger.
You are an idiot. And you're a coward. You're a coward. And our family was never real, so there's nothing to hold on to. We're moving on.
And those are powerful truths, especially to tell to your family. But that actually symbolizes her truth telling, speaking to her own self, her own mind, and her own heart. And what this symbolizes is how when your heart and mind aren't aware of itself or aren't working together, you abandon this inner child that you have in yourself, and it creates this altered ego, which then controls and manipulates all your thoughts and your neurons into a trained killer.
Please don't say that. It was real. It was real to me. You are my mother. You were my real mother. The closest thing I ever had to one. The best part of my life was fake. And none of you told me. And those agents you chemically subjugated around the globe, that was me. And you? You got out. Dreykov made sure no one could escape. Are you gonna say anything? No.
Which these women represent in this idea of human trafficking, because that's what the altered ego when it's controlling you, you see it all over the world into people that want power over peace. They create a character and a patriarchy, old kind of disgusting old man, which the movie represents, of this controlled, limited energy and this idea of a consciousness that is unaware of itself. So it becomes this, and it controls your energy like this. And until you kind of are aware that something is implanted in you that sounds like this patriarchy, this controlling, manipulative, and fearful energy that's always trying to impress you or others, until you're aware of itself, it will control everything about you in this character, like Black Widow.
Why are you doing this?
Why does a mouse born in a cage run on that little wheel? Do you know I was cycled through the Red Room 4 times before you were even born? Those was all I know. I was never given a choice.
You're not a mouse, Elena. You were just born in a cage, but that's not your fault.
Tell me, how did you keep your heart?
Pain only makes us stronger. Didn't you tell us that? What you taught me kept me alive.
And I just love the scene because it shows this other side of Natasha as she's building her character and speaking to her own mind, which is her mother. And this pain only makes us stronger. So all this pain and suffering that we are experiencing in the world, that is because we are living in the mind. But it always makes us stronger mentally and spiritually. And then when Black Widow becomes conscious of all these unconscious, subconscious programs, and when she faces Taskmaster, she realizes that she has to stop this fighting, these programs that she keeps putting onto this character. And when she kind of lets that go and frees this character of this mind control, of this altered ego.
Natasha, to block receptors in olfactory center, you have to sever the nerve.
I can handle that. You weren't quite strong enough, so I'll have to finish it myself.
What are you going to do?
Sever the nerve. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is he gone? He's gone.
And then she is free of her own mind control and her own limitations that she has experienced, and she had to confront them and face them and become aware of it so then she could free herself. And so that's why I think the study of your ego and the thoughts, judgments, and voices in your head are so important, because they control us until we become aware of them. They then project onto others these negative and limiting realities, and then you believe them as the only reality, when all you have to do is become aware of it and be able to free yourself of this voice, of this patriarchy and this control in your mind that limits your energy in your heart, and that those were consequences of that realization, knowing that you allowed this altered ego to control how you think and feel more than how you really feel deep inside or your inner life. And that's the journey of realizing that we live in these two worlds, and that you can choose to live in this inner life or the outer life. And the outer one is what we all experience right now, this patriarchy and this suffering and this limitation. But if we can turn our attention into the inner life and see the lack that exists there due to our altered ego, we can then fill it with more life and energy by experiencing only thoughts of happiness and joy.
I'm at the 100. You get as far away from here as possible. You get to make your own choices now.
And just becoming aware and freeing yourself of this limited voice in your mind, so then your energy can rise, and then you can become more aware of what actually makes you happy, joyful, and abundant, and grateful to even be alive. Because it's hard to become aware of those things when your energy has been so controlled And then when you become aware of this control and this programming, you kind of come into a place where, since you have nothing to fight and take orders from, then you kind of feel like this.
Zvani moja malenkaya sestra. I should have come back for you.
You don't have to say that. It's okay.
It was real to me too.
Thank you.
In this place is where true freedom in the future is going to be created, because it's finally going to be free to create whatever you can dream and desire in your imagination.
You got something to say?
I just messed it up.
And that's how powerful we are. If we can learn to turn our attention from the outside to the inner, then we can create something totally new and unbelievable, because we don't have any limiting thoughts that exist in our mind. And just remember that you are so powerful that you can create any reality that you believe in. So please use this movie as a reference to how this voice in our head controls your energy and creates this warlike in the mind that is symbolized by this film in Archetype, Black Widow. And when you aren't aware of this altered ego, the only freedom that you have is to sacrifice yourself. And this archetype of Black Widow sacrificing herself is because she's sacrificing this pride and this altered ego for a greater good, for the freedom of her soul and happiness and peace. And that's this archetype of energy, is that it has the power to create and destroy. But whenever you see destruction because of energy, it always creates this new reality and a new experience. And that's the archetype and symbolism of this character in this Marvel film. And I hope this info and knowledge kind of made you think a little deeper about your own inner life and your own experience of your mind in this reality. So thank you again for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and click the alert button so you're notified of every new video that I release. And please check out the 58 membership for $25 a month, where you can gain access to empowering content, workshops, energy readings, and guided meditations to empower your life. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.